We'll wait for Eric to tell us what we're doing. Thank you, Eric, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everybody. Welcome. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. We appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. And as such, I will call to order this regular annual meeting of the Lawrence County Salary Board. Today is Tuesday, January 6th of 2025. Note for the record that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have an electronic communication device, could you please put it on vibrate or silent? We would appreciate that courtesy. And county code requires that county salary boards convene on the first Monday of the new year. And so we're complying with the county code. And most everyone in the room has been through this process before. What we do is we take each elected office and implement the 2025 cost of living adjustment for the non-union and management folks within each of your respective offices. It will also be noted that those of you who have union employees will adhere to the language in the collective bargaining agreements with each of those respective union offices. We've listed the elected offices alphabetically, and would note that when we get to your office, you are welcome. We put a chair here if you'd like to come up, because you'll be a voting member, and you're very welcome to come up here and join us. If you would prefer, if your preference would be to sit in this chair so that we could pick up your voice from the microphone, you have the option, and we'll respect which either way you'd like to do. And I'd also ask us to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you can remain standing, we'll have a brief moment of silence. Judge Cox, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We'll have a brief moment of silence. Thank you. I'll also note that we are required to set aside time for public comment. We always do this twice, both at the beginning of the meeting and then prior to adjournment. If you're here as a member of the public and you wish to comment, we welcome your comments. You're welcome to speak both times, one of the two times, or if you're just here to listen and watch, that's equally fine. We do ask that your comments be related to salary board matters, please. And that being said, I'll open it up to see if there are any public comments at this time. Hearing and seeing none. Once again, we'll do this before we adjourn. Before we take up the minutes, I would like to see if my fellow permanent members of this board, and I should note for people who might be viewing, the county code requires that the salary board consist of the 3 elected commissioners and the elected county controller. It's a 4-member board, but when there are issues involving the other elected officials in our county, they become a temporary voting member of the board. And for those of you watching, you'll see this process play out. And they can vote on matters involving their respective office. We'll see that happen. Let me see if my members of the permanent board members have any opening statements to make. Commissioner Kennedy? No. Thank you, sir. Controller Prestipine? Whoop. Commissioner Sanada? No. Thank you. And also should note that this is the 2nd annual salary board meeting now for Commissioner Sanada and Commissioner Kennedy. So they're veterans at this now. I don't know how long we've been doing it, probably too long. Well, thank you, gentlemen. In our packet are the minutes of the last meeting of the salary board, which was held on December 20th, 2024. I'll give the three members an opportunity to review those minutes, and if, unless you have any questions, I could entertain a motion for us to adopt.
I move we adopt the minutes.
I'll second. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? Hearing none, we'll ask for a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. That takes us to new resolutions under Roman numeral 4 of the agenda. And today we get to start with the courts, and we're particularly honored and pleased to have President Judge J. Craig Cox with us. This is your first salary board meeting, and we welcome you, Your Honor, and we appreciate you taking the time. Amy DiMuccio is with you, the court administrator. Judge, you're either welcome to sit there, or if you'd like to come up front and join us.
I'll be fine here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Before an appellate court again.
Well, before us would be Salary Board Resolution 1. And I'll note for the record that this resolution would implement a 3% cost of living adjustment effective January 1 of this year for all full and part-time, non-union and management employees and solicitors that fall under the jurisdiction of the courts, excluding summer interns. And all union employees that fall under the jurisdiction of the courts will be compensated based upon the language in their union contracts. And this will apply to the following departments: the courts, adult probation, juvenile probation, the district justices, domestic relations, and the law library. Judge Cox, you are now a voting member of this board, and this is proposed resolution 1. Do you have any remarks you care to make?
None, you've covered it well for me, and I appreciate that in my first meeting and knowing what to do now. This is just the standard cost of living adjustment. It's for all the non-union personnel within those departments that you've stated. And I would make that motion then for the salary board to set the cost of living adjustment for those departments.
Thank you, Judge. Is there a second to the judge's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Any questions or discussion, gentlemen? Judge, anything else you would care to add?
Not at this time.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion, and it's been appropriately seconded. This is Salary Board Resolution 1. If there are no other concerns or questions, I'll ask Vanessa to call the roll, please.
Judge Cox,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Your Honor, number one, you and Amy are welcome to stay, but we also realize you're very busy people. If you have to head back to the third floor, we understand. We're very appreciative that you took the time to join us, and we look forward to working with you, both of you.
We certainly look forward to working with all of you and appreciate all your efforts that you do for the county.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Debbie, welcome. I have your packet, which I'll give to you. We just voted on resolution number 1, so you haven't missed too much.
Sorry,
That's quite
I thought
okay.
it was gonna be snowed in, but they cleared off the road, so.
We're glad you're here. Glad you made it.
I was gonna watch it online, but.
Well, we appreciate you joining us in person. Salary Board Resolution number 2 would affect the County Controller's Office. Of course, the gentleman to my left is the County Controller at the present time. And this will be the 3% cost of living adjustment for full and part-time non-union and management folks and the solicitor within the Controller's Office, and then the folks in his office who are covered by the ASME contract will be handled accordingly based on the language in that contract. Mr. Prestipine, do you have anything you'd care to offer to us?
I do not.
Would you care to make a motion for resolution 2?
Yes, I will make the motion.
Would someone wish to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you both, gentlemen. Mr. Kennedy, any concerns?
None at all.
Mr. Sonata? Mr. Prestipine?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll ask for a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Next on the agenda is our county coroner, R.J. Johnson. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
You're very welcome to sit there, or you're welcome to come up front if you'd like. Okay, thank you. Someday someone will surprise us, maybe today.
Maybe.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for joining us. What we would be doing here with Resolution 3 is we would be approving the implementation of a 3% cost of living adjustment effective January 1 of this year for all of your full and part-time, non-union and management employees, as well as your solicitor. Any comments or concerns on your part?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Would you wish to make a motion for this resolution?
Make a motion to accept the resolution as written.
I thank you. Would there be a second, please?
Also.
Thank you, David. Any questions, Mr. Sanada?
Nope.
Mr. Prestipine?
Nope.
Mr. Kennedy? Thank you. Any final concerns?
No,
Mr. Johnson? Thank you. We'll take a roll call, please.
Coroner Johnson,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
As I've said to the judge, and I guess I'll just make a blanket statement so I don't have to say it each time. When you're done, you're welcome to stay, but if you have things to do, which I'm sure you do, you're certainly welcome to depart. We do appreciate, again, you're all being here today. Thank you, RJ.
Yep.
Proposed resolution number 4 would be our district attorney, Mr. Lamon-Pusa. Once again, sir, you're welcome either there or up front.
Thank you.
We appreciate your joining us, and this resolution would implement the 3% COLA for your full-time and part-time non-union and management folks, and then the remaining employees in your office who are covered by union contracts will adhere to the language in those contracts. This is Resolution 4. Mr. Lamon-Pusa, would you wish to make a motion for it?
So moved as written.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Josh, any comments?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, any questions? Mr. Prestipine? Mr. Sanada? Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We'll take a roll call, please.
District Attorney Lamon-Pusa,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Looks like someone had a bad day through this microphone. It's pretty dented. So. I don't know what happened. Thank you.
You know, our mistake.
You're the boss for no one.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Our Prefonitary and Clerk of Courts, Jody Claiborne-Asaldo, is with us. Good morning, Jody.
Happy New Year.
Very same to you again. You're very welcome to come up front if you'd like.
One day, not now.
Okay. Jody, we appreciate your joining us. Your resolution is similar to the others. It would implement the 3% COLA for your full-time, part-time, non-union and management employees, as well as your solicitor. And then the union employees within your office would be compensated based upon the language in their contract. This is Resolution 5. Would you be willing to move for its adoption?
Yes, I'd like to move salary board number 5 of 25 resolution.
Thank you for that. Is there a second to Jody's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Jody, any comments or concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prestipine? Mr. Sanada? No. Mr. Kennedy? No. Okay, we'll take a roll call, please.
Prefonitary Asaldo,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank
Jody,
you.
anything else for us?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Wish you the same, Jody.
Later.
Our next resolution, number 6, would be for our register and recorder, Tammy Crawford. Tammy, good morning.
Good morning.
Appreciate your taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
And your resolution is very similar to the previous ones, the 3% COLA for non-union management folks and your solicitor. And then noting that the folks in your office who are union employees, the language in their contract will be applicable to them. Would you be willing to move for Resolution 6?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 3% cost of living raise for the non-union employees in the Register and Recorder's Office.
We thank you for that motion. Would one of my colleagues wish to second it? Thank you, David. Tammy, any comments, concerns?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, any questions? Mr. Sanada?
No.
Mr. Prestipine?
Nope.
Thank you. Take a roll call, please.
Register Recorder Crawford,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Tammy, it's always nice to see you.
Thank you.
Take care. Number 7 is our sheriff, Perry Colero. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you and your family, and thank you for joining us. This proposal, number 7, as has been very similar to the other ones, the 3% for your full and part-time non-union and management folks, as well as your solicitor, and then the folks in your office who are covered by the collective bargaining agreement, the language will apply to them. This is number 7. Would you wish to move for its adoption?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move, resolution number 7.
Thank you. Would someone care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Calero, any comments or anything else you'd like to
Yeah,
add?
everything's fine, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Prestipine, any questions? No. Mr. Sanada? No. Mr. Kennedy?
None.
Thank you. We can take a roll call, please.
Sheriff Colero,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Sheriff, good to see you as always.
Same here as always. Have a good day.
Stay safe. Our treasurer, Rich Rapone, has joined us. Mr. Rapone, again, you can either sit there or you can come up front, whatever you care to do. And thank you for taking the time to be with us. Proposed resolution 8. Is this a misprint? In the
It
It
is.
is.
I apologize.
Okay. We will make the language on the document says 2.25%. We will scratch that and make that 3%. And that was just a typo. No, hope that didn't make you too nervous. Just a typo. And so that being said, resolution 8 would implement a 3% cost of living adjustment for the employees in the treasurer's office who are non-union in management, as well as your solicitor. And the union people in your office would continue to be covered with the language in their union contract. This is resolution 8. Would you care to move for its adoption?
Yes, I make a motion as clarified 3%.
Yes. Thank you. Is there a second?
Also.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Rapone, any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sanada, any questions? Mr. Prestipine? Mr. Kennedy? Once again, make it very clear, resolution 8 would implement a 3% cost of living adjustment for the employees, non-union management employees in the treasurer's office, 3%. We'll take a roll call, please.
Treasurer Rapone,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Rich, thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. There are a number of offices that fall under the jurisdiction of the commissioners, and I will list them. They include the staff of the commissioners, the maintenance office, voter services, information technology, personnel, also known as human resources, mental health, developmental services, veterans affairs, planning, recycling, solid waste, the solicitor, the assessor's office, the public safety office, the office of the public defender, the tax claim office, and the children and youth services office. This resolution number 9 would implement a 3% cost of living adjustment for all employees that were listed just now, both full and part-time, who are non-union and management, also the solicitors. All union employees will be compensated based upon the language in their union contracts. And I just want to re-emphasize that everything we voted on so far would take effect actually on January 1 of 2025. Would one of my colleagues wish to make a motion for number 9, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dan. And
I'll second.
Chris, thank you. Questions or concerns, Mr. Prestipine?
Nope.
Mr. Kennedy?
None.
Mr. Sanada? No. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. proposed resolution number 10 would apply to the county jail, and the salary board resolution would fall under the direct jurisdiction of the four of us. I do want to note that the oversight of the jail, based on state law, there is a prison board which consists of the four of us, as well as the president judge, the sheriff of the county, and the district attorney of the county. But for the purpose of the salary board, responsibility and authority rests with the four of us. So what resolution 10 would do would be to implement a 3% COLA for all full-time and part-time non-union and management employees at the jail, and that all union employees at the jail would be paid per the union contract. This is resolution 10. Could I have a motion? Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Kennedy, any questions?
None.
Thank you, Mr. Prestipine.
Nope.
Mr. Sanada? No. No. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next would be proposed resolution 11 of the salary board. This is language pertaining to the public safety department, and Chad Strobel, our director, is with us today. And Chad, thank you. And you know, you just reminded me of something, and I hope I wrote it down. Please bear with me. Yes, I forgot to note, and I'll note it right now, that the salary board did hold an executive session for purposes of personnel discussion on Thursday, January 2 of 2025. For some reason it clicked when you stood up. I remembered that we had done that. So, partly because you were there. No. That helps us out a lot. We make that part of the record. What you've brought before us, and I'll let you describe it as it relates to future, I believe, cost of living adjustments.
Correct.
But one of the reasons I believe you've asked us to consider this is what you are proposing is comparable, if I'm not mistaken, to implementation of similar language for both CYS, and was it the jail? Thank you. And we want to kind of make this across the board in those unique circumstances. Did I state that all correctly, Dave? Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to you, and you can describe to us what it is you'd like for us to consider.
This resolution would affect our starting wages for various tiers. Right now, we have the training tier, a part-time employee, post-training, full-time telecommunicator, post-training, and supervisors. This would add to that set base rate 1.5% of the annual COLA. After discussions at the executive session, we found that half of the annual COLA, not 1.5%, but half of the annual COLA, whatever that may be that year, would be added to the starting wages or starting rate for each tier to keep the wages competitive. And that would also offset from existing employees, so there would be a little bit of separation there for longevity. So this would just take all of our base rates that we currently have and add half of the COLA to those for any new employee who can come after this session.
So if I'm understanding what you're describing to us, as we sit here today, no one will be affected by this. This is down the road when someone new is hired. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Anybody that is currently working would receive whatever the COLA would be for this year, which we said 3%.
Yes.
So any new hire would be our base rate. Right now, I believe it's 16 or 16.50 for a new hire in training. It would add, I guess this year, 1.5% that reflect that COLA. So it would not affect anybody that's currently working, currently employed, whether they be training, part-time, full-time, supervisor. It would affect future employees as they came in, that rate that we set last year would be adjusted half of the annual COLA.
If I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons that we've looked at this and have already implemented it at the jail and at CYS is these three offices we have found have been the ones where we've had higher than normal turnover compared to other offices in county government. And one of the problems we face is that some of our neighboring counties who are larger to begin with, and a couple in fact have fairly robust tax bases, put us at a competitive disadvantage. We've been losing some folks who've left our county government, moved on to county governments nearby. And we feel that this is a way, hopefully, to keep people here and attract more people to come work for us. And obviously, every office here is important, but we're talking jail, CYS, and public safety, where some of these offices are matters of life and death at times. So the one difference being that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, David, in implementing this in the jail and CYS, that involved union contract language, right?
Yep.
Whereas here, the public safety department is totally non-union, which is why we have to run it through this process. That's great, thank you. If you have nothing else to add at this time, I'm going to see if my colleagues have any questions.
No, that's all, thank you.
Mr. Kennedy? Okay, thank you. Mr. Prestelmeyer? Mr. Sanada?
I think the topic is important, and I agree with this. I think with this adjustment, the way it's done, it's fair and reasonable, and consistency. I think that's something we as a salary board have really tried to be as fair and consistent across the whole county. I know it's going to be a longer process, but I think this is a good first step.
And incidentally, Debbie, the language in this resolution, I think, might answer some of your questions, so we'll be getting this to you. And Chad will be available if you do have further questions. Chad, anything else for us?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, you've heard Mr. Strobel's request. Could I have a motion for adoption of Resolution 11?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestelmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Chad, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great day.
I appreciate it.
How things go this morning? Were there any major problems, accidents or anything?
No,
Okay.
I was watching it pretty intensely, and we got a little bit more than what they told us we were gonna get
Yeah.
from all the schematics. It was all supposed to be low, south below Pittsburgh.
Right.
But I mean, there was a few calls, nothing major.
Okay.
And a couple people sliding off the road and sliding in the ditches and stuff, but it was pretty good. Aside from the schools, I got that call.
Chad, you want to give us our update for tonight?
This is all supposed to wean off by, this front's supposed to move out by 11, 12 o'clock today. Tonight, they're calling for maybe snow showers, and for the next 2 days, snow showers periodically, but no real accumulation, just cold. It's supposed to stay in the 20s for the next few days, at least. But no real accumulation, just breezy and cold.
Well, it is January.
It is. Winter's here. We got one this year.
That's right. Chad, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Guys have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
The next batch of resolutions are all consistent from the standpoint that what we're looking at doing here is establishing some consistency in the base rate of our department head salaries. Of course, all of our department heads are non-union, obviously, they're management positions. And many of the offices that we're going to be looking at here Many of them, the department head is already making more than the figure we'll be talking about. There are a couple who are below this figure, the figure is $65,000. But the board is of the opinion that, again, from the standpoint of consistency, that the base rate for department head positions, which is essentially the starting rate, should be set at $65,000. And again, most of the positions we'll be talking about, the folks holding those positions are already making more than that. A few of them are not. Those who are not, this will bring them up to that $65,000 figure. Once again, have I explained that correctly? Okay, thank you, Dave. So we'll walk through these, and there is some language in a couple of them that we'll have to make note of. Let's start with the Department of Public Safety. This resolution would establish, by the way, this is number 12, thank you. Resolution 12 would establish the base rate of the Director of the Public Safety Department at $65,000, with the understanding the person holding that position right now is making more than that. Okay, thank you. This is, now before we move on each of these, Chris, you're comfortable with all of this as we're discussing it?
Sure, I just have a question, and I wasn't here, and maybe Dave, you may know answers. The last time a lot of these bases were raised, how many years ago was that?
They all vary, just depending on when the, usually it happens when a new director is hired, go in and adjust the base rate, but it's, I don't know that there's not a, they're all different, and so there's no set rate.
Some of them could be-
1999.
Some of them are pretty old, right, yeah.
But I thought I remember.
Some of them are very old, some of
Session
them are
had-
just recent, but it just depends on
Sure,
last time it was
understanding
looked at.
that. So what we're doing today, pretty much, is the goal is consistency. So instead of having, 20 years ago, the other was 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, now everybody's gonna be on the same playing field going into the future. So whether someone leaves us in 10 years or 5 years or whatever, it's still, the consistency's there, where before you're saying it was all based on various years.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, because I think that's a very important thing that's happened today.
Anything else, Chris? No. Commissioner Kennedy? Thank you.
Good start to where we need to be in the future.
Mr. Prestipine, anything further? So once again, this first resolution would be applicable to the Department of Director of the Public Safety Department. Base rate would be set at $65,000 for the position. Person in that position right now is actually making more and will continue to be at that level. This is for the base rate. Could I have a motion for Resolution 12, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes,
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes,
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed Resolution 13 would apply to the tax claim office. The base rate would be established at $65,000. I should note that today, I believe, is the first day for the new director, Mr. Burek. And again, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but this will be his salary based upon the action we're taking today. Okay, thank you. Would someone care to make a motion for Resolution 13?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Questions? Mr. Kennedy, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Prestipine and Mr. Sanada. Okay, once again, this would establish the base rate for the position of Director of Tax Claim at $65,000. It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call, please?
Controller Prestipine,
Yes,
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes,
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thanks, Vanessa. Resolution 14 would do likewise for the base rate of the chief assessor position. That rate would be established at $65,000. Would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris, thank you so much. Questions or concerns, gentlemen? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
yes,
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes,
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 15 would establish the base rate for the position of the Director of Information Technology at $65,000 per year. Could I have a motion?
I'll make that.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris, thank you, sir. Questions or concerns, gentlemen? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Controller Prestapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. This next resolution has a little additional language to it. I'll read it into the record. This is Resolution 16. This applies to the Department of Veterans Services across the hallway here for us. The language reads as follows. The base rate of the Director of Veterans will be set at $65,000. If the current salary of the Director of Veterans is less than $65,000, if the current salary is less than $65,000, his or her salary shall be raised to $65,000 effective January 1, 2025, but that would not include the 2025 COLA. Is that worded the way we understood it to be, needed to be worded? Thank you. Would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Also,
Dave, thank you. Any comments or discussion, gentlemen?
The only thing is I think, Dave, the salary would have been almost 64 this year, right? Am I correct? 63 cents
62,
change,
something like that, yeah.
like 63 now. So, we ought to move them up to 65. So. It's not a whole lot of difference, but we thank the veterans for what they do.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Any other concerns or questions? It's been moved and seconded for Resolution 16. We'll take a roll call vote, please.
Controller Prestapine,
yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thanks, Vanessa. Resolution 17 for the Department of Mental Health and Developmental Services would establish the base rate for the Director of that office at $65,000. Would someone wish to move?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dan. Would someone care to second?
I'll second.
Chris, thank you. Comments or concerns, gentlemen? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed Resolution 18, this applies to the Office of Recycling and Solid Waste. It would establish the base rate for the Director of that office to be set at $65,000. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Anyone care to second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Comments or concerns? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Controller Prestapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed Resolution 19 has additional language that will enter into the record here. It would establish the base rate for the Director of the Voter Registration / Election Services Office. The base rate will be set at $65,000. Sentence 2 reads as follows. If the current salary of the Director of the Voter Services Office is less than $65,000, his / her salary will be raised to $65,000 effective January 1, 2025, but would not include the 2025 cost of living adjustment. Would someone care to make a motion for this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dave, thank you. Questions or concerns?
No.
No? Thank you, gentlemen. We'll just note that this is one of the positions, correct me if I'm wrong, where the person holding the position was below 65,000. This brings them up to that figure, just below, not far below.
Just barely.
But we did talk about, without the COLA, it still would bring that position higher than it would have with the COLA.
It was below. With the COLA, it was below.
That's, I'm sorry, I didn't phrase that the right way.
Yeah.
In other words, if we didn't,
64.
Okay.
64.
so in other words, if we didn't do this, he got the COLA, but it still wouldn't have gone to the 65. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. This is Resolution 19. It's been moved and seconded. We'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed Resolution 20. This involves the Human Resources Department, and it's very similar to what we just talked about with motor services. The base rate for the position of Director of Human Resources would be set at $65,000. If the current salary of the Director of Human Resources is less than $65,000, her salary shall be raised to $65,000 effective January 1 of 2025, but would not receive the 2025 COLA. Is there a motion for this proposal?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any concerns or questions? We'll take a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed Resolution 21 would involve our planning department. Resolution would establish the base rate for the director's position in that office at $65,000 a year. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you both, gentlemen. Comments or concerns? We'll do a roll call, please.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. I do have a question, and forgive me if we talked about it and I maybe forgot or it went one ear and out the other. Should we be considering similar action for a couple of the offices that don't fall under our direct jurisdiction, such as adult probation, juvenile probation, domestic relations, and the jail? Maybe I'm even overlooking some people, but is this something we may want to think
Yeah, that would involve Judge Cox, obviously.
as a voting yes?
And then the jail would have to go to the prison.
Yes.
Yeah, the people are way over it now. Truly,
Good septic.
we get the next salary, but we gotta put that on, and maybe to get them all up there, so they're all the same.
You made a very good point that everyone all those positions we just talked about are above 65. But,
We talked about in the future,
okay,
looking at all, as we move forward with the consistency and equity.
okay.
I think we have that talking about for the future.
Yeah, I'd be concerned more immediately if any of those 4 positions were below 65 right now. But as you said, none of them are. So, but it is something maybe at the next meeting we can address. Okay, if the board is so willing.
Bring them up.
Okay, and I may have forgotten someone.
Yeah, I don't think, besides that, I don't think it'll affect anybody's salary, but we can change the things for.
Okay, all right, thank you, gentlemen, very much. Next item on the agenda would be new business. Mr. Sanada, any new business? No. Mr. Prestipine? No. Mr. Kennedy? No. Thank you. That takes us to public comments. We have 2 folks in the audience. I'll open it up to see if anybody does have any public comments.
I have a question.
Yes,
Few
ma'am.
questions I can ask now or wait.
No, please, go right ahead.
Did I miss it or did you approve the jail COLA?
Yes,
Okay, I must have been
that was the first one, Debbie.
reading or something, okay.
That was,
What is the percentage,
Before Jack came.
Yeah, right before Chad.
what's the percentage of increase for elected officials?
incidentally, before we get to that, it was Resolution 10 for the jail, and it'll be in your packet.
Okay.
The increase for elected officials is based on an ordinance that's in place that takes into account the regional cost of living. Mr. Prestipine, you're better able to answer this than I am.
The index was at 3.5%.
And again, the ordinance stipulates that we have to equate that increase with it's the Northeast region, I believe, in
CPI for the Northeast.
yeah, the Consumer Price Index. The number comes out in December, but it's based on the November figures. And that figure happened to be 3.5. The process is somewhat similar to Social Security recipients, although their formula takes effect at a different time of year. So it may vary. Ours may vary from theirs.
Were those figured in the budget?
Yes. Yes.
Um. Okay. Those are the questions I have.
Okay. And again, Debbie, we'll give you this, and as you go through it, if there's anything else comes up, just give us a ring. Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, before we adjourn, any closing comments? Mr. Kennedy? Thank you. Mr. Sanada? No? And Mr. Preston? I do want to thank you and your office. You folks really, and Vanessa and Joe work on this, but putting these documents all together, we thank you for all the work that you do in that. Well, there being no other business to be brought before the salary board, could I please have an adjournment motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you, Mr. Prestine. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We're adjourned. And thank you, Bill, for turning that off.